Okay, I'm going to do a different program today because earlier I had a conversation with AI, as I've done before, about the Charlie Kirk assassination. If you've been following that, if you haven't, you should. And if you've been following that, then a lot of this is going to sound familiar to you. Unfortunately, I had this long conversation this morning on my iPad with Gemini and was asking questions about what Trump has been calling this discombobulator. Or maybe he calls it a discombobulator, or maybe either one. And I thought to myself, well, I wonder what is that? So I am going to read from my iPad the answers and the questions. And I've got several, and I'll probably make a couple videos from this because it's really in regards to this weapon. And it was used in Venezuela. Trump has bragged about that. And I was kind of curious if they would use it in Iran, which looks like we might be doing in the very near future. So let's go. Without further ado, here's what I asked Gemini. I said, Trump brags that our military has a discombobulator, a new secret weapon. What on earth could he be referring to? And the answer that Gemini gave me is this. President Donald Trump recently claimed that the United States military used a secret, highly advanced weapon he calls the Discombobulator during the January 3rd, 2026 mission to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. According to Trump, this weapon was instrumental in disabling Venezuelan defenses, causing Russian and Chinese-made rockets to fail, even when operators pressed the launch buttons. Scrolling up now, I'm continuing. He writes, the key claims about this discombobulator naming. Well, Trump took credit for naming the device, stating, quote, everything was discombobulated. It was my name. I am very proud of the name. Functionality. He describes its primary effect as making, quote, equipment not work without traditional combat or explosives. He claimed that because of this technology, Venezuelan forces, quote, never got their rockets off and their radar systems shut down without explanation. He goes on to say incapacitation efforts. Reports from Venezuelan sources, including a security guard, described personnel experiencing intense sound waves that felt like their head was exploding from the inside, leading to nosebleeds and vomiting blood. Non-disclosure. In several interviews, Trump initially teased the weapon by saying, quote, I'm not allowed to talk about it, before proceeding to describe its effects on the battlefield. Well, that's totally typical Trump. Expert and official interpretations. Military experts and senior U.S. officials suggested that the discombobulator is likely not a single revolutionary device, but rather Trump's playful label for a combination of existing high-tech capabilities. And here's where we go back to the previous videos of my long conversations about these direct energy weapons. He goes on to subject electronic and cyber warfare. Officials noted that U.S. forces used cyber tools to disable Caracas's air defenses and knock out power across the capital city during the raid. Acoustic/sonic weapons. Trump referred to a sonic weapon in an interview with News Nation, used against Maduro's guards in a fortified area. This aligns with witness accounts of intense sound waves and biological disruption. Active Denial System, or ADS. Some analysts speculate that he may be referring to the intolerable heating sensation compelling targets to move. Now, I think I've showed a little snippet of that once before as well. Havana syndrome connection. Media inquiries have also linked the technology to pulsed energy devices suspected of causing the Havana syndrome. So the pulsed laser weapon is the one that AI told me could be used as a tool of assassination. In the broader context, he goes on to say, the capture of Maduro, dubbed Operation Absolute Resolve, has been framed by Trump as a demonstration of next-level military dominance. While Trump claims the technology is entirely unique, senior officials have cautioned that he may be conflating several different resources, such as existing acoustic systems and electronic warfare tools, into a single fictionalized superweapon. Would you like more details on the other new military initiatives Trump has announced, such as the Golden Dome missile defense system or the Golden Fleet of battleships? And let's see, did I say yes? I said no. My next question was, he claims that this weapon was used to disable Venezuela's military, or maybe their radar. I was thinking an EMP weapon or something along that line. You and I have talked about the PLAD, P-L-A-I-D, and laser weapons in depth. So I thought I would see if you have any idea what he's referring to with this discombobulator weapon that he brags about. And here's the answer. The discombobulator is the name President Trump has given to what he describes as a secret weapon used to disable Venezuelans' defenses during the January 3rd, 2026 raid to capture Nicolas Maduro. While the term is likely Trump's own colloquial label, the technology he is referring to aligns with several advanced non-kinetic military capabilities, likely identifications. Okay. Based on Trump's descriptions and military analysis, the discombobulator is widely believed to be a combination of the following. And if you've been following this site, you probably will recognize all of these because this is what we were doing. High-powered microwave, an HPM weapon. Trump claimed that, quote, they pressed buttons and nothing worked, specifically mentioning that Russian and Chinese rockets failed to launch. This is consistent with the high-power microwave system like CHAMP, the Counter in Electronics High-Power Microwave Advanced Missile Project, which floods electronic circuits with pulses to disable them without physical destruction. The acoustic sonic weapon. Trump explicitly used the term sonic weapon in an interview with News Nation. Witnesses at the scene reported intense sound waves that caused guards to suffer from nosebleeds, vomiting, and collapse. The pulsed energy device. Some reports link the technology to active denial systems, ADS, often called a heat ray, or technology similar to what is suspected in the Havana syndrome. Electronic and cyber warfare. Senior officials noted that Cyber Command provided effects that turned off power in Caracas and disabled radar systems. Specialized aircraft like the EA-18G Growler were confirmed to have participated in the mission to achieve spectrum dominance. The key strategic effects. Hardware neutralization. Trump boasted that the device made enemy equipment, quote, not work, and that he chose the name because everything was discombobulated. Radar blackout. Accounts from the ground indicate that Venezuelan radar systems shut down entirely without explaining just before the U.S. drones and helicopters appeared in the skies. Bloodless results. A major point of Trump's brag is that these tools allowed U.S. forces to enter a fortress, the palace, and capture Maduro without losing a single American life. Experts suggest that Trump is likely conflating these distinct high-tech tools into one super weapon narrative. This mirrors previous discussions regarding the Plaid, P-L-A-I-D, all capital letters, another classified capability, and directed energy weapon and other directed energy weapons, where various non-kinetic effects are combined to achieve total battlefield suppression without traditional, quote, rubble. So there you go. I'm walking, scrolling here with my finger past the recommendation. This is what I also asked, and we don't need to go in depth into this, but I just asked about the bodies of the Maduro's security staff were all returned in something like a hat box, and wondered about that. But the official word is they were all cremated in Venezuela, which I have to admit is rather unusual. But that is what the AI is saying. And let's see, it kind of talks about, just answers those questions, and it's kind of nondescript. Let's say, so I go on to say, and we'll probably end this here, just to see if this works out okay. And but it goes very interesting. We're talking about continuing this conversation, and really at this point, I start dwelling on the Iran situation. So I'm going to go ahead and do this question answer in this video, and then I will continue it on with a more complex one in reference to what possibly could happen in Iran. So I said, I hear that Trump is bragging about using this Discombobulator, so-called secret weapon, again in Iran. That is a very large country with very advanced Russian and Chinese weapons, such as radar and anti-aircraft defenses. The top-level government leaders in Tehran are quite a long distance from their borders. Do you think Trump will be successful using this Discombobulator weapon in Iran? It's a very different situation from Venezuela, but he doesn't appear to understand that they are very different. And that was the question I asked. And here's the answer. The question of whether the Discombobulator and the suite of technologies it represents, so it's not one weapon, it's a whole bunch of different direct energy weapons like the Plaid, and it goes into this later, would be effective against Iran is a major topic of debate among military analysts, not just me. You're absolutely right that Iran and Venezuela are fundamentally different challenges in terms of geography, depth of defense, and technological sophistication. While Trump's rhetoric suggests a one-size-fits-all superweapon, applying the tactics used in the Maduro raid to Iran involves much higher stakes and different technical hurdles. Geography and the tyranny of distance. In the Venezuelan raid, U.S. forces benefited from proximity and the relatively localized target in Caracas, the Iranian shield. Tehran is roughly 600 miles from the Persian Gulf. Getting a Discombobulator, likely a short to medium range electronic or sonic emitter, close enough to high-value targets would require penetrating layers of Iranian air defenses first. The scaling problem. Disabling a single palace or command center is one thing. Discombobulating a country the size of Iran with its decentralized command structure and underground missile cities is a massive logistical leap. Sophistication of defense, Russian and Chinese systems. Iran operates the S-300 and potentially the S-400 surface-to-air missile systems, along with indigenous versions like the Bayvar 373. Electronic hardening. Unlike the older systems found in Venezuela, modern Russian-designed radar is built to withstand heavy electronic warfare. If the discombobulator relies on high-power microwaves to fry the circuits, it would face much more robust shielding in Iran. Cyber resiliency. Iran has one of the world's most aggressive cyber commands. They have historically been very quick to air gap their most sensitive military infrastructure, making the remote disabling Trump describes much harder to achieve in Iran. The soft kill versus total war. Trump's pride in the weapon stems from the ability to achieve a bloodless, for Americans, capture. However, the dynamics change in Iran. Even if the United States successfully used a discombobulator to shut down Tehran's power or radar, Iran's doctrine likely views a total electronic blackout as an act of war, potentially triggering a massive retaliatory drone and missile swarm against regional bases or oil infrastructure. The Havana syndrome risk. If the weapon involves the bioeffects, sonic pulsed energy reported in the Venezuelan raid, its use against a sovereign, well-armed nation like Iran could lead to international legal backlash or a tit-for-tat energy weapon attack against the United States diplomats globally. Psychological warfare. There is a strong possibility that Trump's bragging is itself a form of strategic ambiguity. By branding these tools as cartoonish but intimidating name and highlighting the boxed size remains of the Cuban guards. The administration may be trying to create a paranoia among the Iranian leadership, make them doubt if their own buttons will work when pressed, encourage internal dissent or ghost hunting within their tech departments. The verdict. Could it work in a limited surgical capacity like a raid on a specific site? Yes. The U.S. still holds a massive lead in directed energy and cyber integration. However, discombobulating Iran's entire military is likely a bridge too far. Iran's sheer size and its deep state military infrastructure built inside mountains are designed specifically to survive the kind of electronics and sonic blitz seen in Caracas. Okay, I'm going to close on that because I think that's enough for just answering the question, what is the discombobulator that Trump keeps bragging about? And is it going to be effective in Iran? Now, I'm going to say that I'm going to use this kind of intro and I'll keep on going in the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, and tell you all of the questions and answers that I did this morning on my iPad, just because to me, I think it's very interesting. We talk a lot about the plaid weapon that likely was used in Utah Valley University. If indeed it wasn't a 30-06, which I think everybody pretty much believes now. So I think you'll find this really interesting. It gets into a lot of details, and a lot of details surprised me about locations, targets in Iran. It's really fascinating. So keep your seatbelt fastened. I'll put this one and the next one out, and it'll be kind of like the complete conversation all about the war with Iran. And Gemini and I have made a date. We have made a date to meet again after the Friday, which is actually Thursday night in the United States, meeting, if it happens, between Iran and the United States in, I believe, in Oman. And we are going to discuss what the outcome was. And he had already told me, and I'll just tell you this, as far as that meeting goes, he said if there isn't some sort of agreement at that meeting, that the United States could launch within hours. So we'll keep that in mind as we continue on.